Only the penitent man shall watch this video. Don't go away. Hello friends and welcome to Fat Guy Productions. I am Paul, coming to you as always from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. Many of you might already know this, but I have, in my 3D printing past, made myself both the Indiana Jones fertility idol that you see here and the Staff of Ra from the amazing Indiana Jones movie Raiders of the Lost Ark. Needless to say, when I saw at the recent IPMS contest that somebody made a Holy Grail from the third installment of the Jones series, I knew I had to make one for myself. So, that's what we're going to be doing today. Let's get to work. So, this idea isn't mine, okay? This is a project I saw somebody else do at the IPMS model contest. They did it, and I knew I had to do it too. So, thank you. I wish I knew your name. I'd give you a shout out, but I don't know your name, so I'm just going to put out a blank thank you to you and hope that you hear it. But anyhow, I'm going to make my own Indiana Jones Holy Grail today. So things start out by finding a good model of the Grail. Now, I can do 3D modeling, but this just seemed like the better way to go. And I found a great one, and I'm going to put a link in the description below for you for this model. Anyhow, so I downloaded this off of Thingiverse, and now I can go ahead and import it into Cura. Now, I'm going to show you a picture right here of my first attempt at printing this, because you're going to see I printed a massive Holy Grail. I was so enamored by the model and everything was going so well that I just didn't realize that this was going to be out of scale. It was going to be really, really big, and I failed to scale it down, so I printed this giant one unbeknownst to me until about halfway through. I decided, well, I'm just going to let it finish. But anyhow, I got it into Cura, I checked all the settings, and when I finally made the correct version of it, I scaled it to the right scale. Now, I found the dimensions on the internet, and this thing should be about 5.5 inches tall. I made mine a little bit taller than that. I made it at like about 5 inches, 3/4, somewhere around in there. The first one I think is like 7 or 8 inches tall. And so, yeah, that was a bummer. But I was really excited by how well my Ender 3 was printing this model. Whoever modeled this put details in it, like little bits of damage and stuff that actually will show up in the print. So between the fantastic STL and the great job that my Ender 3 did here, I'm going to get a really amazing 3D print out of this. So once I have my 3D model all set up and I go ahead and slice the STL into a file that I can use on my Ender 3, I will use Octoprint and I will send the file over to my Ender 3 and I will start it to printing. Now, I have to tell you, if you're using an FDM printer and you're not using Octoprint, you're missing out on something fantastic. First of all, you'll use a Raspberry Pi, and just getting that set up and ready to go is very fun. But once you have it set up, it is a fantastic way to remotely control your 3D printers. So I really love it. I use it on both my Monoprice and on my Ender 3, and just love it and highly recommend it. So through Octopi, I'm going to go ahead and get the nozzle and the bed preheated. I can make sure of all of my settings. I can upload the file, and then once everything's ready, I can tell it to go ahead and start printing. And if you're using a camera, I'm using a simple Logitech camera here. You'll be able to even remotely view your printer and kind of check in on your work and make sure nothing has gone haywire. A really, really nice feature. Now, you may have noticed in the fertility idol that I used this fantastic gold finished filament, and it really came out super cool. And I really didn't do anything else to it other than print it. I probably could have enhanced it, but I really didn't think it needed it, so I didn't. But on this cup, I want it to be as close to the movie as I can make it, and so it really doesn't matter what color filament I'm going to use here, because I'm going to sand and paint this thing. So I already had some black threaded up, and that's what I'm going to roll with. So if you're wondering how I'm doing this time lapse of the printing process, because this was 14 hours for the small one and 24 for the big one. So if you're wondering, this is a feature built right into Octoprint. So again, just another fantastic reason to be using Octoprint. You're going to love it. It is a free application, and really all you need to do is buy yourself a Raspberry Pi, and if you want a little camera, it's not that expensive. There's tons of great videos out there on how to set all this up. And if you'd like me to do one, just ask for it in the comments, and I'll be happy to go ahead and do a video for you guys. So I have to tell you that I haven't used my FDM printers in quite a while, and this is really the first couple of prints I've done in a long time, and I was stunned by the quality from this Ender 3. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's just my perception is different from having been away, or if maybe Cura through some sort of an update is doing a better job of sending these files and controlling the printer. I don't know why, but these files printed out just absolutely perfect. And I wasn't even using the absolute best settings they have. I was just using the middle setting. I forget the name of it, but you know, just the average run-of-the-mill normal setting for printing a file, and the quality is just amazing. There is not a flaw in this thing. I am so excited about this. Can't even begin to tell you. And I don't even know why. Okay, so here I have the finished print. And you can see for yourself just how nicely this thing came out. You can even see all of the little details that the artist had put into the model. The little bits of damage and chipping and stuff like that. It's all there. This is so beautiful. I'm really geeked about this thing going forward. So I printed this with a brim to make sure that it had a nice sturdy base while I was printing. And now I just need to get rid of that. So I'm just using a razor knife, and I'm kind of trimming away the excess from the brim there. And then we can go ahead and move forward. Okay, something really nice about doing a model of something that's a cajillion years old is that you don't really have to be overly careful and cautious and worrying about pristine finishes and stuff like that. I'm going to sand this sucker down with like a 150 grit sandpaper, something like that. I forget what it is. And I'm just going to go ham on this thing and sand it down. And I'm not even going to worry too much if some of the radial lines are still showing. Because in my theory is they probably had some sort of a spinny device to make this. We're operating under the assumption that this particular grail was a gilded terracotta type thing. And so it was probably turned on some sort of a spinning disc. And it's probably going to have some sort of radial lines in it, and scratches, and scuffs, and everything else. So I don't really need to stress out about the finish here. Plus, I have another trick up my sleeve, and I'll show you that a little bit down the road. But really, I'm going to get this sandpaper out, and I'm just going to go over this really fast and furious. So if you are more concerned about the finish and you want it to be smoother and you don't want any of those lines in it, all you have to do is sand until you get a universally flat, dull finish across the board. Okay? Because down in the ridges, it's still going to be a little bit shiny and glossy the way it came out of the printer. And that way you can see just how well you've done or haven't done. Like I said, I don't care. I just want it generally flat, and that's all I care about. So I really don't have to sweat it. So as I finish the sanding, I'll show you the other trick I had up my sleeve that I mentioned. And that is some Rust-Oleum 2-in-1, and it is a filling sandable primer. Now, what this is it's a fairly thick primer that will settle down into some of the flaws, and in this case, the grooves and stuff, and kind of level everything out a little bit. And then when it's dry, you can sand it down and it'll come out actually pretty smooth. Now, I did 2 coats on my Grail. Put a coat on, let it dry, sanded it down, put a coat on, let it dry, and that's where we're at now. And it really takes it that last step. Now, I do still have some areas where you can see the printing texture, but I don't care. I really just don't care. I think it just adds to the overall look and finish of this project. So for my first coat of paint, I was trying to get myself a kind of a terracotta finish, and I picked something that was like a dark maroon, thinking that was going to be close, but it really wasn't. It just was not even in the ballpark. So I ended up having to make my own. I took actual paint called terracotta, and then I blasted it with a little bit of this maroon, and I got something that I think came out really, really spot on. I think it looks fantastic. So I gave this the terracotta paint job, and I defy anybody to tell me that this does not look like an old terracotta mug. I think it looks fantastic. So I really love the way this came out. I think it looks very, very terracotta. I'm going to set it aside, let it dry, and then when it's dry, I'm going to coat the entire thing with hairspray. Now, I'm doing that because I want to chip away these additional layers I'm going to put on. And I do have chipping fluid, but I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to try the hairspray method. So that's what I'm doing. Now, I'm not going to use salt or anything like that, as you might see in some model cars. I'm just going to coat this thing in hairspray. Then I'm going to go on, put on the other layers, and I'll go ahead and remove it with some water, and we'll see how it works. So, okay, that's the plan moving forward. So now at the paint booth, I am going to take out my maroon paint and a light tan, and I'm going to splotch on patches of color all over the Grail. I'm going to put some on the inside, some on the outside. I'm not going to worry too much about the inside because it's going to be foiled. But, in case there's some spots that show, I want some variation in there. So I am going to do the inside, but mainly the outside. I'm going to put some high and low and left and right so that basically I want to be able to see the terracotta color. I want to be able to see the tan. I want to be able to see the maroon. I want to have them all. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here at the airbrush booth. Put these colors down, and then I'll let that dry. I really can't tell you just how excited I am right now. I think this thing is looking fantastic. I'm very cranked about this whole thing, and it's coming out better than I had hoped it would. So I'm really excited. Right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and finish up with the whole chipping thing with the hairspray. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a brush, a nice big brush, and with some water, I'm going to start to burnish away some of the additional colors, the maroon and tan that I put over the terracotta, to try and give it a more natural, weather-worn look. And so I'm just going to put it on, rub it off until I get the look that I want, and we'll see what happens. Now, I can see that this is working, and it's working really well, but what I'm noticing is that I have a lot of area to cover, and it's kind of difficult with the brush. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just apply water with the brush, then I'm going to use a paper towel and kind of rub away the areas that I'm trying to get rid of, and use that to kind of get rid of some of the maroon and some of the tan, and blend that all in. And what I'm going to find is that worked really, really great. So I just did a little spot, moved to the next one, did a little spot, moved to the next one, and that's working fantastic. Okay, so with it dry now, I can go ahead and get a good look at what I've done, and I'm really pleased with it. And if you look into the videos, like I said, go back and watch the videos or get some of the still pictures available online, and you're going to see big splotches of maroon in there, and some lighter areas and stuff. And so I really feel like I've captured that. I'm very excited about it, but we're a long way from done here. So I ordered a gold leaf. Now this isn't an authentic 24 karat or higher gold leaf. This is an artificial gold leaf, but it looks gold. It functions the same as gold leaf. So I've ordered that, and I've ordered what's called the sizing, which is basically just watered down glue. And basically I'm going to very thoroughly cover the bowl of the Grail here. And I'm going to go ahead and follow the instructions. Basically, you paint the sizing on, let it tack up, then you start pushing in the sheets of gold leaf and burnishing it in. And I'll do that throughout the bowl, and then later I'll do little splotches here and there on the outside of the Grail. Now, I'll talk more about that when we get to it, because there's some specific ways I'm going to do that. But suffice it to say, I'm going to put the leaf on now. So with the sizing, you just want to get a nice, smooth, even coat. You don't want puddles of it anywhere. You don't want it to be too thin. You need enough material there that it'll get tacky. But, just a nice, even coat. Then you want to let it set. And they say to let it set for like 30 minutes. I found that to be totally wrong and didn't work very well. What I found is the earlier part of the instructions where they say when it goes from milky to clear, okay? And that took like 5 minutes, okay? So that was the better way for me. I painted it on. Once everything was clear and I could feel the tack with my finger, that's when I started laying in the gold leaf. So the sheets of gold leaf are very, very thin. It's a little bit messy, but hey, don't stress out about it. Just basically take it, stick it in the mug, and start to burnish it down with your hand. And in this case, this kind of leaf has a carrier. So once you've done that, remove the carrier, and then just keep filling in the gaps. And don't worry if a place won't take it, because we can go back and put more sizing in those areas and leaf again, okay? You can repeat as often as need be to get the look that you want. So as I lay the leaf down on the inside of the cup, after I remove the carrier, I basically just take my finger and just kind of lightly burnish it down and make it nice and smooth. And it's going to come out with this really antiquated, textury look. And it is absolutely just perfect. And you'll be blown away by how shiny this stuff is inside the bowl of the cup. You know how in the movie it looks like it's almost glowing? It's almost like they put a light in there. Maybe they did. But it almost looks like that. It's fantastic. I mean, it really comes out great. And I'm going to put a link for the sizing and the leaf that I used down below. And you'll also be able to find that at my Amazon store. You can find that by going to www.amazon.com/shop/Paul Udelis. So when I apply leaf to the outside of the Grail, I'm not going to worry too much about how much goes on. I am going to splotch it around by kind of tactically painting on the sizing and putting it and splotching it and blotting at it, to make it very random. And then what sticks, sticks, and what doesn't, doesn't. I'm not going to sweat it because after this is all done, I'm going to sand the mug down very lightly with a 1000 grit sanding sponge. And I'll be able to remove a little bit of that leaf and take a little of the shine off of it and just really give it that look that it's been on this mug forever and ever. So for the inside of the bowl, I really wanted to get it to be 97% covered with the leaf. The rest of it, I'm fine to let the base colors just show through. It's not going to get handled the way the outside of the cup would. So, it's going to hold up a lot better than the outside of the cup. So that's what we're going for here. Look at that. Look at how it glows. You have to admit, that looks pretty cool. Now again, not my idea, not my design. This is taken right from the photos of the Grail I saw at the IPMS. I made some little tags in Adobe Illustrator, basically museum tags. That I'll be using later. I made them in Illustrator, I printed them out on my laser printer, and I'll roughen the edges up, put some folds and a little bit of smudging on it and stuff, and then this will be attached to the Grail when I'm done. So, nice little touch. I loved it at the IPMS, and I'm going to love it on my Grail as well. So I'm just going to use a piece of jute to tie the tag onto the finished mug. And just a couple points on weathering this. First of all, not one edge of this should be sharp and crisp. So I took just a pencil and rubbed it around the edges to kind of dull and squish the edges just a little bit, because none of them should be crisp like you just cut a piece of paper. And this is actually printed on half of a manila folder. I cut it in half and fed that into my laser printer. So it's got the right texture. And then, basically I put a fold in the corner. I put punched a hole in the end and put a reinforcement dot on there because I just assumed that maybe they would have done the same thing in a museum. I took my fingers and dirtied them up and kind of smudged a little spot on it and just kind of gave it a little bit of a wrinkling, okay? I don't want to overdo this, okay? Subtlety is the key here to making it look great. So at this point, I'm just about done with my Grail, and I think it came out fantastic. I had such a fun time doing this. The 3D print came out amazing. The STL that was modeled was great. And if I can find that guy's name who made that, I'm going to put it down here right now so that you can see it. But either way, there will be a link to the file that I used because there's a lot of them out there, and this one is spot on. So, yeah, I really had a great time with this. I think it came out fantastic, and this Grail is going to look fantastic with my Indiana Jones collection. I hope you loved it as much as I enjoyed making it. Well, here it is, my Indiana Jones Holy Grail, a super addition to my Indiana Jones collection. And I really think it came out amazing, and I just love it. I hope you dig it too. You get it? Dig it? Archaeology, dig it, digging, you get it? I just cracked myself up. Anyhow, I really do hope you love it, and if so, please give this video a big thumbs up, click subscribe, and don't forget to destroy the notification bell so you never miss one of my 3D printing videos. As always, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I absolutely love hearing from you. So, that's gonna just about do it for today. Just remember, we are only passing through history. Until next time, this is Paul from Fat Guy Productions, saying, be good.